y'all, that's right. You know what time it is. It's time for the Sugar Creek Forge Build-Along 2012. I got my hand on the fire, putting the fire to the steel. Come on, Sugar Creek Forge, won't you tell me what's the deal? Alright. Get some. We're gonna have some fun. Build myself a blade.
Hey everybody, tonight's video is going to cover firing up this little charcoal forge and actually heat treating my knife in this forge, and worked pretty good. I'm going to apologize in advance. I didn't get good video. Everything went fast. I didn't have my tripod set up, which was foolish. I should have done that. And then so it's ending up I'm trying to work with one hand and take video with the other. So I apologize for that, but I'm sure things will be pretty clear. And then also I will show the same process using the propane forge so that everything's clear, and try to explain things as carefully as I can. And I think between the two videos and answering any questions in the comments, things will be pretty clear. Just a quick, I got a couple of questions about that, so just a couple quick comments on the little charcoal forge. The key is you got two bowls. The bottom bowl is completely full of fire clay, this refractory clay that we made, and then the other bowl is sitting on top of that, so it's insulated with that about that much. And then because the inner bowl is smaller, there's about that much of the rim where the clay kind of comes up through and to smooth that around there. So the clay provides insulation and holds in some of the heat. And the reflector bowls are made out of stainless steel, and they're made to go under stove burners. So they're designed and engineered to take heat. Now, if they were a little bit deeper, we would line the firebox itself with clay, and that would increase its life a little bit. But I'm not that worried about it. And anyway, so we'll jump in and look at that process. Like I said, it goes really fast. It's surprising how quickly this forge heats up. And already after using it to heat treat this knife, there's one design thing that I would just a small detail that I would recommend changing just a tiny bit, and we'll get right into that and look at the process. This is how I start the little forge and get it ready for heat treating. You can see I put some charcoal briquettes there, and then I've put the heat treating chamber on top of one layer of charcoal and piled up some around it. If I could go back in time, I would change the design by making this inner heat treating chamber about 1 inch or 2 inches longer, just to protect the blade a little bit more from the flame swirling around the outside. So I just put a little bit of lighter fluid on it and fired up the charcoal, and I'm going to let it burn till it catches and then turn the blower on. And here the blower's going on. You can see that it's really starting to get a good fire in there. It's really sparky, so wear your safety glasses for sure. To help any doubters have a little bit of confidence in this forge, I've got a pyrometer here, and I'm checking the temperature. And as you can see in this first heat, it's already almost at 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can see it there on the pyrometer. It's not real super clear. And then checking it again, you can see that it's already up to 1,500 degrees, over 1,500, which is our critical temperature easily. And you can see this is ready to heat treat. So now I'm just warming up a piece of steel, and I'm going to take this piece of scrap steel, heat it up red hot, and then I'm going to quench it in my oil, which is right here. This is just vegetable oil, which quenches very quick. It's a fast oil for treating 1095. And I'm just plunging that hot piece of steel in here to warm up my oil. So my quenching oil is heated up to a little over 125 degrees, and now I'm putting the knife blade into my heat treating chamber. You can see it in there. It's already really hot, and this is protecting the blade from excess oxidation. So this blade is heating up really quick, and you check it a couple times with a magnet. I'm pulling it out right now, checking it again, and it is ready to go. And I want to get it quickly into the oil, quench it in there, and you can see I'm not stirring it wildly. I'm just moving it around a little bit. That way I don't cause the blade to warp. And I'm just going to hold it in there in my tin can for a couple seconds because this steel is real thin, and then pull it out, and we have a heat-treated blade. An important thing to remember when you're heat treating your knife is to check it often with the magnet. As it starts to come up to heat, as you see it starting to get hot and change to kind of an orange color, pull it out and test it, because what you want to do is come up to that non-magnetic temperature slowly. It's very easy to get it too hot, and if you take it up above critical heat, you're going to need to let the knife cool down in vermiculite, normalize it again, and that's going to be a real problem. Just remember, you want to do it slowly, check it often. Not so often that you interrupt the knife heating up, but check it with the magnet, and you'll start to feel, at first the magnet attracts the knife very strongly, and then the attraction gets a little weaker, and that's a sign that you're just about at that point. As soon as the knife loses its attraction to the magnet, it's ready to stick right into the quenching oil as quickly as possible. That way you don't get the knife overheated, because if you do, it becomes very brittle. Even if you temper it, it's got a large crystalline structure in it, and the knife will snap instead of being strong. So that's just one of the keys. Just watch that. It's nothing to stress about, but just watch that carefully, and be sure to quench your knife very quickly when it gets to that point. I like with 1095 where it just barely has lost the magnetism, and then I like to quench it right there. So I would advise that for anyone trying to do this as well. I apologize I didn't get good pictures of the blade right after the heat treat, but just rubbed it with a little bit of sandpaper, and here's what it looks like. And turned out real nice. And all that's left to do now is to check this for hardness, and we're going to do that with a file. My knife in the jig just to hold it, and just checking with the file, and you can see that the file just glides over it very easily. It won't bite in. It feels like you're sliding the file over glass, and that means that this knife is hard, that the edge of the knife is as hard at least as the file. There you can see that the file did not cut in. It scratched a little bit of the black stuff that was on the blade down towards the choil, but that's it. This blade turned out nice and hard. Check for warping. If you sight down the blade, you can see that this one turned out really straight. I didn't have any problems with this thin steel warping because I ground it with files. I didn't put undue stress on the steel. And you can see there's no warping in it, and no twisting. So I'm real happy with how that came out. At this point, our knife is completely hard. It's like a file. If I would drop this on concrete, I could break it or chip it. Now it has to be tempered or brought back in its hardness. So now it's going into the oven. I'm going to do a double temper on this knife, and so I've placed it on this oven rack, and I'm going to turn the oven on, and I'm going to temper it for 1 hour. I've used this oven many times for this and know that it's pretty accurate. You might want to check yours with an oven thermometer just to be sure, but I've got this set at 425, and my first cycle is going to be a little over an hour at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. So after that first cycle of tempering, I pull the knife out while it's still hot and lay it on top of the stove burners so that it's not touching anything on the blade and it can cool to room temperature. Once it's cooled to the touch, I'm going to put it back in. This is what it looks like, the color. It's a straw color, and that's what I'm after. And now back into the oven for another tempering cycle. I turned up the oven on the second cycle 10 more degrees, and you can see that the color darkened a little bit. It's still technically, well, it's a dark straw color with just the beginning of faint hints, faint streaks of a darker purple, and this is just how I want it. This is going to cool. It's been double tempered, and it'll be ready to go. So I'm real happy about how this knife turned out. Heat treated well. I got a nice even heat on the blade. The only thing that I would have changed would be to make my heat treating chamber a little bit longer, because what happened was when the knife was in the tube, there was an oxidizing fire towards the back of the tube right at its mouth where it opened up. And if that had been poking out of the fire a little more, I would have avoided that. Didn't hurt anything, but cosmetically what it does is it makes a little bit more scale on the knife where the knife is really oxidized. And so when I heat treated it, where that scale was, that scale popped off and, you know, makes kind of a discoloration, but I don't really care about that at all. That will be virtually unnoticeable. In checking it with the file, there are no hard spots there, so I'm real happy with that. The whole blade is very even, and I had sprinkled a little bit of charcoal dust down in there, and what that did was burn inside of the tube and suck up a lot of the oxygen that was in there, so it worked really well. The part of the knife that was inside was in a very low oxygen environment, and I didn't get a lot of the scale on the blade, as you saw. So that was really, really cool. I was happy about that. And I think you can see how fast this worked and how well it worked. You know, I'm real happy with it, and felt like, again, I wanted to do that so that you could see what the process looked like and not be intimidated by it. Again, I'm just quenching in warm vegetable oil. It's just the cheapest vegetable oil that I buy at a dollar store, very inexpensively. And that kind of vegetable oil is what's called a fast oil when you use it for quenching. It quenches very fast, not as fast as water, which we wouldn't want, because 1095 is kind of classified as a water hardening steel, but I've seen a lot of people, and done it myself, cracked blades sticking it in water. So hope that was easy for you to see. The big trick in heat treating knives at first is to check the knife often with a magnet, because it's better to put it in, pull it out, check it 3 or 4 times, and if it's still magnetic, stick it back in, because we want to get it just where it's becoming non-magnetic. There's not an attraction at that critical temperature. You know, if you touch it, the magnet sticks, but as soon as it gets to that critical temperature, it's like the magnet has no effect on the blade, and then we quench it very quickly. You saw I did that within 2 seconds of coming out of the forge, and that's what we want, especially with 1095, to get it out of the forge at critical temperature, check it, and then quickly dip it into the warmed oil. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please post those. And like I said, we'll go through this process again when I get the propane forge up and running. It's drying real nicely. I got it sitting on a radiator in my house. And if you are a little confused in the process, maybe seeing it twice will help you out. There's also a lot of great articles out there on YouTube, or videos on YouTube and articles you can read on the internet. But like I said, I'll show that again, and we'll have a chance to see that. So I hope you're thinking about, you know, making a forge. Again, you're going to be able to get your knife heat treated by a knife maker in a you know, regular knife oven. And but you know, don't be intimidated by this process. I wanted to get this up quick so that you could see how to do it and feel like you maybe would just go ahead and make a forge. So thanks so much for watching.
Well, the first time in my life I'm gonna